Okay, I think I should be live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me just double check and make sure. Okay, yes. I believe everybody should be able to hear me. Um, so I'm streaming on YouTube and Facebook right now, not on the Baina website. Um, I completely forgot to get access to the Baina website, so um, inshallah, starting tomorrow, we'll be streaming on the Baina website as well. But for today, just YouTube and Facebook. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, inshallah, starting about 45 minutes before class every day, I'm going to be um, holding a review session so that you guys can ask any questions that you may have on the previous content. So for today, that previous content is anything from the first two intensives and from the first exam as well as day one of the third intensive. Feel free to ask any questions, inshallah. Um, you're not allowed to ask any questions about stuff that's to come, but anything we've already covered, you are allowed to ask about that. So without further ado, Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala ma ba'd. Um, on the Bayna website, in case nobody checked yet, there is a new audio that was added. This is the audio from yesterday at the end of class where Ustad went over four words and he did the past and the present uh, conjugations for all four words. So inshallah, that's here as well. It's also, if you go under previous sessions, this is yesterday's video. If you click on it, then that same audio is available under the video. So if there's an audio associated with the video, you're going to find that audio underneath that video. Surprise. But yeah, I hope this clarifies some of the confusion on the website. And before anybody asks, there is still work being done on the website, so it will improve over time, inshallah. When will you have the surf workbook? The surf workbook will become available as soon as the surf workbook is available for us to upload. What is inside doer and outside doer? Abdullah, whenever we have a fi'l, every fi'l needs a doer. For every action, you need somebody to do the action. Okay? Sorry, I got distracted. For every action, you need somebody to do the action. And in Arabic, you can have a fi'l, every fi'l actually will have the possibility of having a doer built into the actual fi'l itself. So if I said aslama, there's a possibility that the doer here is built in and it's the word he, the pronoun he, aslama. Every fi'l can take 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 forms, right? And this is what we talked about yesterday, or not yesterday, but at the end of intensives 1 and 2, when we started talking about past tense fi'ls and present tense fi'ls, we went over all of the different forms of the fi'ls, and this is what that was about. The different forms of the fi'ls tell us which pronoun is inside of the fi'l. So if I said aslama, that's he. If I said aslama, now that's both of them. If I said aslamu, that's all of them. If I said aslamat, that's her. Aslamata is both of them female. And aslamna is all of you women or all of them women. And then we could go over all of these second person pronouns as well. Aslamta, aslamtuma, aslamtum, aslamti, aslamtuma, aslamtunna, and the first person ones, aslamtu and aslamna. These different forms tell us which pronoun is the inside doer. Now, if we have the aslama he form, or if we have the aslamat she form, and then after that we have a word that's rafa'. So let me say Zaydun and Fatimatu. After each of these fi'ls, because the first one is in he form and the second one is in she form, I have to look afterwards after the fi'l to see if I can find a word that's rafa'. If I can find a word that's rafa', then more often than not, that rafa' word will be the outside doer. And again, this is very, very important that you understand. The fi'l has to be in he form or she form. Aslama or aslamat. And this is true for present tense and past tense. If I have any other form, then I cannot have an outside doer. The doer has to be built in. So let me just type out the chart real quick. See, I'll do it without haraka and make it faster. Okay. So out of all of these forms of the fi'l aslama, can I not cross out text? Okay, we'll just go coloring it in. So these are all the different forms of the fi'l aslama, past tense. Only the ones that are colored in red have the possibility of having an outside doer. Every other form of the fi'l cannot have an outside doer. It will have to be an inside doer. Again, only the ones that are colored in red, the he form and the she form, can have an outside doer. The rest will all have an inside doer by default. I hope that part is clear. RE Monster Gaming, the rhymes in the Quran are not at the end of every ayah. Occasionally, when you do see rhymes, you'll see them at the end of. Actually, sometimes you'll see them within ayahs too. But uh, you're right. Mostly it's at the end of ayahs. But again, it won't always be at the end of an ayah either. Yes, I can make it bigger. Ramis, that is a question that will confuse not only you, but also all the other 1,000 people watching. So I'm not going to even read that question or answer it. And it's not anything that is related to Nahu or Sarf. That's something completely different. So maybe in the future, inshallah, in a different class with a different set of teachers, we can answer that. True, false, number 10 on the left side of what? What are you looking at the exam or are you looking at an exercise? Sumaya, if you can let me know, inshallah, I can maybe answer that one. Um, Ali Kazmi, Ustad Nu'man said that mustaqarrun is a fi'l on the test. I can't believe that's true because mustaqarrun is an ism. And I don't think Ustad would make a mistake like that. But in case he did make that mistake, mustaqarrun is an ism, and the dead giveaway is the tanween. If you ever see tanween, then that word will be an ism by default. Fi'ls don't take tanween ever. Can I explain the concept of removing the first letter from the present tense and adding a meme and tanween? Okay, let's go over that. I'm gonna erase this. Maybe this is too big. Okay, for the same fi'l, yuslimu, when we're going from the present tense to the ism fa'il, the fourth form that we talked about yesterday, it's a very, very simple process. You remove the first letter, whatever it may be, and you replace it with a meme dhamma. And then on the end of it, you add a tanween. And that's the whole process. So when you asked the question, you wrote out the whole process. You asked me what the process was, but the process was in your question. I'll write both of them side by side so you can have it like that. Here you go. Yuslimu becomes muslimun. Muslimun. Yuslimu is present tense for the verb to submit. So that means he submits or he is submitting. Now, this form is the person who does that action. So a Muslim is somebody who submits. So today it's not on the website only because I don't have access to the website yet, or I don't have access to make streams on the website yet. Inshallah, tomorrow, starting tomorrow, I will be adding it to the website as well. But Ustad's regular stream will be on the website. Nahid, you are about 20 days ahead of us with that question. Just relax, focus on what we have, and we'll get to that. Ramis, when we're talking about harf of nasab, does inna and innana mean the same thing? If they don't, what's the difference? Inna and innana do mean the same thing. Both of them are inna paired with the attached pronoun na, nahnu, and both of them mean certainly we. Sherazad in Google Docs? I actually will try that. Let me see. I would have to add it, huh? Okay. You are right. I like this one a lot better. Thank you for the tip, whoever said that. May Allah reward you for every letter I write using this font. Allahumma ameen. Can I please do the adraka chart in present tense, or at least for the feminine of the chart? Sadaf, if you can wait just a little bit longer, then Ustad is going to go over all four of the words from yesterday, and he'll go over not only the feminine, but he'll go over the whole chart. Manzoor, the reason I don't know for sure, partly it's just because that's how Arabic is, that we can only have an outside doer on he and she. But It's easier this way because if any fi'l could have an outside doer, then every time you saw a fi'l, you would have to look for an outside doer. But because you can only have an outside doer on he and she, then that means if you see the fi'l in any other form, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about looking for an outside doer. Only when you see he and she forms, you have to look for it. It makes it easier on us. How does present tense have an inside doer? The same way past tense has an inside doer. Except instead of looking at only endings, we're looking at endings and beginnings. So, yuslimu, that means he, whereas before that was aslama, right? And then yuslimani is both of them, whereas that for past tense was aslama. And so on if we do all of them. I hope this is I hope this gives you the idea of it. If the need is there, then I can write out the whole chart. But hopefully just this much is clear. So just like we have all of the different forms for the past tense, we have all of the different forms for the present tense as well. And each one represents a different pronoun. Uslimu would be ana. Nuslimu is nahnu. Tuslimu is she, or it could also be you, depending on context. Tuslimina would be you, she, and then you have all of the plurals. So in present tense only, yuslimu and tuslimu can have outside doers. Oh, sorry, yes, font size bigger. It's my fault again. Baina Arabic, I don't understand your question. Can you please rephrase? Zuleha, Assalamu alaikum. A quick question. For sort of intensives, will we be using stuff from past intensives as well? Yes, we will be using stuff from the past intensives. You need to know the Muslim chart. You need to know your pronouns. You need to know the past tense conjugations, nasara all the way to the end, nasara and nasara, nasaru. You also need to know the present tense conjugations, yansur, yansurani, yansuruna, all the way to the end. What else do you need to know? That's the basis of what you need to know, and I may be forgetting some stuff off the top of my head. But you definitely need to be very familiar with the content from from intensive 1 and 2. What's the difference between Rabbul Alameen and Rabbil Alameen? I would need more context to be able to tell you that. Because right now, status in and of itself doesn't tell you a difference in meaning. You need to look at the context of why the status changed. What are the other words around that? What word is making it that other status? What's the fi'l? And so on. Just by itself, Rabbul Alameen and Rabbil Alameen mean the same thing. You would need context. Asif Hussein, I already answered. It's actually still on the document of how present tense has an outside doer. Um, it would just be like this, and then, okay, I'll write it out. Same thing we had for past tense. Except this time it's for present tense. So again, only in the he form and the she form. He form is yuslimu and the she form is tuslimu. So if I have the he form and I have the she form, then I have to look, or I should look, for a word that's rafa' coming after it. If I can find a word that's rafa' coming after it, then chances are that will be the outside doer. So this by itself, yuslimu means he submits. But because I have Zayd and Zayd is rafa', Zayd will take over and he will go away. Now it becomes Zayd submits. Same thing here. This could be by itself, she submits or you submit. But because we have Fatima after it, and Fatima is rafa', we say instead Fatima submits. Oops. If I increase the font size anymore, then I'm not going to be able to fit anything on the screen. Just try make your screen bigger, I guess. The screen is not clear. I think that may be an issue on your end. Make sure your internet is working. What is the Bayina website? This right here is the Bayina website. dream.bayinatv.com. dream.bayinatv.com. It's also over here. This is specifically the study materials page, but same website. So Masuma, I can see your question, or I can see your question asking if I can see your question, but um, I don't see your question. Let me see if I can find it scrolling up. Okay, I was wondering for the word tanafasata, why isn't it antuma rather than huma? Well, first of all, telling you the difference between present tense light and past tense is something that you're going to run into at some point. But let me see if there's a good way for me to explain this. Okay. Okay, so the word is tanafasa, and if we conjugate it out to feminine, both of them, it becomes. Did I do it before? Here we go. Tanafasata. This means both of them feminine. Okay. Now the present tense for this one is yatanafasu. Yatanafasu. And I believe your question was, why isn't it antuma present tense? The antuma version of this Remember, we need the ta, ani, right? Ta, ani, ta at the beginning, ani at the end. So to make this antuma becomes ta, ta, na, asani. And if I made this light, it would become tana, asani. So there's still a difference between both of them feminine past tense and the light version. Sorry, that's my mistake. I made a mistake here. It's still ta, ta, ta. There we go. There's still a difference between the both of them feminine version and the light version of the present tense. If you're asking about both of them masculine, let me do that. Okay, if you're asking about both of them masculine, then it is tanafasa, but there's still a difference here. There's still a difference here because we have an extra ta at the beginning of the present tense, light. Okay? There's an extra ta at the present tense, light version. Tanafasa is huma, past tense. Tatanafasa is antuma, present tense. I hope that was clear. Can I have a long distance relationship? Odina, can what have a long distance relationship? Sadaf, both of them. Outside doer can be with present and it can be with past. Why is Ustad teaching? Uh, Ustad is teaching the way he's teaching because he has a lot of experience with teaching, and this is the best way to teach, in his opinion. I just want you to acknowledge daylight savings times. Yesterday morning, we had to go an hour back for daylight saving time, daylight savings time. So um, we're still starting at the same time according to our time, which is 9:30 Central Standard Time. So in about 10 minutes, the class will start, and that's still the same time for us. But I understand that for some of you guys, that might not be the same time. That might be an hour earlier or an hour later. If we went an hour back, yeah, that'd be an hour earlier. Inshallah, I'll see if Ustad can address it in class, but no promises. I might forget. Can I go over the workbook, page 38, question 27? Okay, let's look at page 38, question 37. I don't have the workbook open. Let me open the exam while I'm here too. I know some people are gonna have questions about the exam. Okay, 38. Okay, we're supposed to find the inside pronoun and the outside pronoun for both of these, or sorry, the inside pronoun and the attached pronoun. So question 37 or 27 is ataytumuhunna. Now for, if you were paying attention when we talked about the past tense, remember when we have an attached pronoun to a fi'l, for any form of the fi'l, we can just attach the pronoun straight onto the end. So the word here is uh, ata. So if I wanted to say, for example, um, Atayta, I can say ataytahunna or ataytumahunna or ataytunnahunna, right? It doesn't really fully make sense, but um, and it sounds kind of funny too. But that's okay. I'm just giving you an example right now. Ataytuhunna, atay, ataynahunna, right? I can just attach the pronoun straight onto the end. But when it comes to the pronoun tum is a little bit special because if I want to attach a pronoun to the end of tum, I have to add this wow in between. And this is a mistake that a lot of you have been making and a lot of you have been emailing about. A lot of you are making the mistake where you think that this is the hum ending, u, right? Nasaru. But this is not nasaru, this is nasartum with a pronoun attached to it. Because we need to change it. We can't say ataytumhunna. It doesn't flow well. And the Arabics like the Arabs, they like things to flow well. So instead of saying ataytumhunna, they add a wow to make it flow better. Ataytumuhunna. So this is the inside pronoun of tum, meaning the doer is an inside doer, and that doer is you all, antum. And then hunna is the detail of the fi'l, and that's the attached pronoun hunna. You should know hunna. Alhamdulillah is not a full sentence by itself, Nureen. Alhamdulillah. Actually, it is. That's my fault. I wasn't thinking straight. Alhamdulillah is two words, three words. Ham- Weird. Alhamdulillah is three words. The first word is alhamdu. The second word is the harf of jar, lam. Wait, that didn't work. And the third word is the word Allah. Okay, so we have three words. The first word is alhamdu, which means all praise. And the reason why it's all praise before anybody starts asking me why it's all praise is something we'll get to later. Um, the harf of jar, lam means for, and Allah means Allah. So all praise for Allah. We have a fragment here and we have a word here. There's no connection between alhamdu and lillah, right? There's no connection here. And because of that lack of connection, we put in is. So alhamdu is for Allah. All praise is for Allah. But you'll see it translated a little bit differently as well. You can see it translated as all praise belongs to Allah, and that's fine as well. But that's why this is a sentence, because we have this is here. Can a pronoun be mudaf? A pronoun cannot be mudaf. There is no live session on Facebook. There has to be a live session on Facebook because I'm getting comments from Facebook. Jimmy G's, that's probably the reason. You do need a subscription to access this stuff on the website. On the exam, section 6, number 5, is it correct to say it's a fi'l because an ism was in front of it? Let's see. Section 6. Number five. There's two words here. Which word are you talking about? What was your name? African craft. Which which example in or which word in number five? Actually, I'll just go over both of them. فتلقى is a fi'l, and this one's really hard to tell right now where you're at because it could be a non-flexible ism. But the thing is, well, I mean, really, once you start getting a little bit into sarf, you'll be able to tell why this is not an ism for sure. As it stands right now, it's kind of a toss-up. It could be a fi'l, it could be a non-flexible ism. A good way to kind of guess that it's a fi'l is because it looks like it's idafa, and the word after it is rafa. So it's not a mudaf ilayh, right? If it was idafa, the word after it would have to be jar, but it's not. So that's one way to tell. It's light and no alif lam. Well, you can't say light because it's not flexible, but it doesn't have alif lam, right? So it could be idafa. That's why I'm saying it could be idafa because there's no alif lam, and it's also light, but the word after it's not jar, so it's not any idafa, and that kind of gives away something, right? What's the reason for it being light here? There's no reason. That's why we're saying it's a fi'l. And again, once we get into sarf, you'll be able to recognize this as a fi'l easier. So fatalaqa is a fi'l, but the reason, I think you said the reason is because, can I say it's because the word after it is an ism? You can't say that because then anytime you had an ism coming after a word, that word would be fi'l, and that's not a reason. An ism coming after a word is not a reason for that to be fi'l. There are reasons for words to be fi'ls, but that's not one of them. And kalimatin is a ism, and that's easy to tell because it has tanween, and fi'ls don't have tanween. Salamat. What is the difference between salama and aslama? That's a difference that we'll get into. Not yet, though. Section 3 of the exam, 2D. Why isn't it both harf and ism? Section 3, 2D. Okay, lakadibun. Why isn't it harf and ism? You're right, this could have been highlighted better. The word that's in question is kadibun, not the la at the beginning. The la is a harf, it's a harf of emphasis, not one of the ones we've learned yet. Um, but the word that's in question is kadibun. That's why it's ism and not harf. One word by itself cannot be two things, and this was asking you for one answer, not two. That's why you just had to choose one. It's understandable if you thought harf because it is technically highlighted, but kadibun was the word being asked about. When Ustad assigns you guys assignments or exams and stuff, um, unless specifically mentioned, please don't email the assignments and the exams in. Sometimes Ustad will say, do this and send it in. In that case, you can email it. But if Ustad doesn't mention to send it in, then don't send it in. Like for example, the exam. We mentioned a couple of times actually not to send the exam in, and a lot of you still did, and that's fine. Um, but the exam was for self-review, and this assignment, uh, the explanation assignment for the exam as well, that's also for self-review. So you don't need to send that in anywhere. Oops. Ustad said that the type comes from mudaf ilayh, but sometimes mudaf has multiple mudaf ilayhs. If one of the mudafs is proper and another is common, then what would be the type of mudaf? If you have a chain of idafas, then you go all the way to the end, to the last mudaf ilayh, and that's the one you use to get the type of all of the other words in the chain. The last mudaf ilayh determines the type for every other word in the chain. Where did I put the audio of Dream Intensive 3 Day 1? If you're talking about the video, then if you go to previous sessions, Dream Intensive 3 Day 1. If you're talking about the present and past tense audio from the end, then you can click on the video and it will be under it. Present or past and present practice. That's the audio. It's due meaning have it done by Friday. Not it's due as in you have to turn it in. Have it done by then because we're going to go over it. Will all the classes be on Facebook Live? No, they won't. We're just on Facebook Live due to a couple of small technical issues, but we are still in the middle of migrating to the website. Can I explain the definition of Nahu and Sarf? Well, Nahu has more to do with, I don't remember exactly the definition Ustad gave you guys yesterday, but Nahu has to do with how words interact with other words and how those interactions change and affect each other, right? So we talked about, for example, first we talked about isms and how isms change in and of themselves, right? Rafa' and ism jar, and how they might look when they're flexible, partly flexible, non-flexible, and light and heavy, and all that stuff. And then we started talking about relationships. So how does a harf of jar affect an ism? How does harf of nasb affect an ism? And different ways that an ism can affect another ism, right? So we talked about these relationships and how the endings change because of the relationships. And then we talked about sentences and how they all interact with each other. So Nahu is about how words interact with each other and the changes that comes about that. But when it comes to Sarf, Sarf is talking about within a single word, how does that word by itself change? What are the different ways I can take the word aslama and change it into different forms? So once you have a good grasp of Sarf, having one word like aslama, or starting from one word like aslama, you can derive hundreds of words from that. And Ustad gave us a short example of that yesterday when he went through. Oh, Ustad is here.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Continue
Ustad.
what you were saying.
If you're talking, I can't hear you. Oh, wait,
Can you hear me?
I think I added you to the stream.
Yeah. Can you unmute me? Hey. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Jawad, can you hear me now?
Ustad, I can't hear you.
You have to hit your hold on. Jawad.
It's 34. I've been away
You're not muted on my end.
I'm not? Huh.
Where did this get stuck up?
Okay, mute yourself.
I just saw you mute and then unmute yourself, but you're still unmuted and you're already added to the stream.
There's something on your shoe. Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
Blaze.
Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Jawad? Now unmute and tell me.
I lost that.
No?
Like palasan.
The weather's not bad today.
Kan best.
Somebody else is saying they can hear you. Maybe it's just me. I'll try to fix it on my end.
Okay. But anyway, we got to end the session now because the review session is over. We're going to start class. So we're going to end this broadcast and rebroadcast. And by the way, guys, there's a lot of construction going on here. We're in the middle of building the elevator for the campus. It's pretty exciting. So you're going to hear some background noise. Try not to be distracted. And you
Okay.
too, don't be squirrels.
Okay.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Yep, that's what that means.
Yeah.
That means when anything else is happening when you're in a class, anything else that's happening becomes interesting.
Yeah.
Fight the temptation to look
Okay.
at boxes being moved.
Okay.
It is not interesting ever in your life unless you're in a class. Okay?
Yeah.
So it is still not interesting. Convince yourself of this.
Okay.
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 You especially, Maria, because you look back at the screen like, hey, is that a TV? Whoa. Does it project images? It has pixels? You do this often. So both of you, fight. Okay, now move in. All right, we're gonna end this broadcast and we're gonna start over. See you guys in a minute.
I need help